You want to know how to make these inexpensive batteries like the Ryobis, the Ridgid, the Hercules, the Bauer, the Hart from Walmart? You want to know how to make those batteries fit in your other tools? I'm going to show you how to make an adapter. It's easy and not very expensive. So you can just off the shelf buy adapters for a lot of tools. From going from Ryobi, or from going from a Harbor Freight battery, or like a Hart or something else like that, there are no adapters available, so you have to make your own. I do have a whole video on it, on these adapters right here, where you can take something like a Makita, and we can run it off a Porter cable battery. You know, we can take a Dewalt right here, and we can run it off a Makita battery, and so on and so on. The possibilities are almost endless, but things like the Ryobi, you run into a huge problem. Virtually every single manufacturer out there is using these slide-on battery styles. Ryobi is not, because they've decided to keep their old Nicad style to keep their consumers happy so they can backwards compatible this battery to power tools that were made in the 90s, which is good for the consumers. But it's bad for adapters because no manufacturer wants to make an adapter because of this protrusion. You know, it sticks 2 inches taller than any other battery, but we can make them. There is one thing you are going to have to buy, and that is an adapter that fits the tool you want to go to. So let's say we want to use this Makita drill. I'm going to have to use this adapter right here that fits into the Makita. The bottom side actually fits a Porter cable, but that doesn't matter. It could fit a Dewalt, it could fit anything else. All we want is this top part. And the reason we need this top part is because of this. Not only just the plastic molding that fits is exactly the same as the top of the battery, but it has this little circuit board in here that tricks this drill into thinking it has an original battery and tricks it into running, because there's more than just a positive and negative port. There's also a brain box in here that lets this know that the battery is running. And, you know, Dewalt actually has 4 terminals in there, and the adapter will has a computer chip in there just like that. So we have to have that. These are pretty inexpensive. I'll put links below for all the different ones. It doesn't matter, again, what the bottom side is. Just buy the cheapest one that fits the top part, fits the tool you want to go to. So if you want to go, in this video I'm going to show you, we're going to go from a Ryobi to a Makita. So now we just have to make this somehow adapt to that. That's actually not too hard. We need to have a tool. This already has an adapter built into it. This has the plug and everything. It has the wire connections, everything in there. Let's take this apart. It has this all formed in here. All we got to do is cut it off. I know, cut it off. This right here, this tool right here was about 20 bucks. You can use older tools with Ryobi. You can use the old blue ones that fit these batteries that you can find at yard sales for $1, $2. Go to the thrift store, find them. Or you can buy any Ryobi tool. The cheapest Ryobi tool out there is around 20 bucks, and that was this. So you also have flashlights for 20 bucks. Or if you want to go from a Hart battery, which doesn't have this protrusion to slide on, those are, you can get one for 20 bucks. Harbor Freight, I think, has their cheapest, you know, thing that plugs into their battery is around $15. All you need is something that fits their battery platform, if that makes sense. So we're going to take this tool right here, and we're going to cannibalize it and cut it up and make an adapter out of it to fit this adapter, make it into one, so then we can use Ryobi to Makita. And we're going to cut right above these metal contacts. I'll just undersolder these wires. We don't need these wires on there. We'll put our own wires on there. There we go. That in there. That in there. We can put some screws back in. But now we have an adapter that fits the Ryobi battery with the terminals we need on the top. Now we just have to bond that to that. It's going to be big and bulky, but that's okay. We don't mind. We probably trim some of this up, and start plastic welding it together. So now it's time for wiring, but don't worry if you hate wiring. There's only 2 wires you need to hook up. So we have these metal contacts come down here that used to slide into the other battery. We don't need those. We could actually solder wires directly from this to there. Just make sure you know which one's positive, which one's negative. It's easy to tell. The battery says which side's positive. The battery says which side's negative. You open this up. The red is positive. The black is negative. I could solder from this terminal to this terminal, but I'm just going to solder directly up to the board. So I just took these terminals out. I'm going to remove these wires off of the board and solder in my own new wires I'm going to use 12 gauge. 14 gauge might work because it's such a short run, but I would use 12 gauge for this high draw stuff. So we're going to use some 12 gauge and just go straight from the board through here and just solder them directly down there. And I'm going to do that. They're actually going to go like this. I'm going to do that before I start bonding these two together so I can have the wires just out and loose and where I want them, and then we'll go. So I got my new wire soldered on, making sure they're not going to interfere with the little latch button, and they don't. So I got them sticking out the bottom. So now I can come over to my Makita or my Ryobi and just solder those directly to there. Okay, we got everything soldered together. It's 2 wires. That's all it is. 2 wires, red and black. Orange and black in this case is what I put on, but red and black, positive and negative. That's all you need. And then this computer chip will do all the rest of the brain thinking and tell the drill that that's what it's supposed to be. So before we get it all together, let's just test it out. Battery on. Battery in. Works just like it should. I'll give you a super basic how to plastic weld. You just take your soldering iron, and I like this trigger style because I can turn it off and on if it gets too hot. But you just sit there and you just kind of mix them. So you can see where the green and the black are just kind of mixing. I just go around and wait till it gets hot. It's getting a little too hot because it's smoking. But see, I just cut some off. I just mix it in. Mix them together. Take some black. Push it into the green. Take some green. Push it into the black. I have a whole video on this. But that's the basics. And I just kind of went around until I got it to hold. And so now it's actually really strong. But now I actually have a bunch of leftover screws from the Ryobi tool that we took apart. And so I'm just putting in some extra fasteners just for some extra mechanical rigidity. There we go. It's all plastic welded up and nice and structurally sound. There's one last step that I like to do is paint it so it matches good. But I need to add some sort of glue to help just make this thing nice and rigid. And an epoxy won't work because epoxy is brittle and it'll break. It'll crack. Super glue, no. There's only one type of glue that I know of that will work, and it sets to a really hard rubber, and it's called goop. It goes by a bunch of different names. There's plumbing goop, automotive goop. E6000 is the parent company and actually makes all this, and they just relabel it for different industries, but it's the exact same thing. I'll put a link below in the video description so you can look at it. But it's E6000, shoe goo, goop, plumbing goop, automotive goop. They're all the exact same thing, and what they do is you just smear it on like a glue, and it takes, a few hours to set up and 24 hours to fully cure, but it'll set up to a hard rubber, and you can smooth it out with your finger and make it nice and beautiful and smooth and just glossy so you won't feel anything, and that'll make this super rigid and take any vibrations and won't crack. Put around those wires don't just vibrate around. I mean, these tools put out a lot of vibration. This little adapter is not ideal, I guess, if you're a contractor doing this every day, yeah, don't do this. But a homeowner, a DIYer, you don't notice this at all. It pushes the battery out a little bit further, but this thing right here weighs nothing. This thing weighs like 5 or 6 ounces. You can't even feel it. The battery alone weighs 1.5 pounds. So you got a 1.5 pound battery, plus this, you're not even going to notice it. If you use a skinnier battery, it would be even less noticeable because you're pushing the weight even further up. But I don't notice that at all. What's that? Making it shake its own paint. I like painting these things to actually match the tool that they're being used on so I can quickly grab them. So I'm going to do the top half, a Makita teal. I guess we'll mask it off. We'll see. Obviously, if you do this with a like a Ridgid battery or a Hercules or Bauer or Hart battery, you're not going to have this huge protrusion. This thing isn't going to, those are all slide-on styles, and they're going to be much more comparable to just the adapter itself, with just maybe just a little bit more standing out so you can slide on the battery. But that's what it is. It works good. One of the nice things about them also is generally all these adapters come with a USB power bank, essentially. So now I could use this battery to actually charge cell phones and stuff like that. A lot of them come with these little USB power ports, so you can actually charge stuff. So, I mean, there's value in there as well. So click the link that'll be in this upper corner right here to see the video on just these adapters. So maybe they already make one, and I'll put it down in the video description to see if you actually even make one for it. I'll also put a link to the video if you have a bunch of these smaller battery packs and you want to make these monster packs. Like this is an 8 amp hour pack. You can make 10 amp hour packs. So you can take a bunch of smaller packs and make them into these huge packs so you're not changing batteries all the time, and they work amazingly well, and they're a fraction of the price of the huge ones that they sell in the store. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one. Bye. Hey, you want to have a snowball fight? Let's go. Come on. Get it. Hey. Woo! Endless balls. Here we go.